All right, well, this is Jerry with What's Broke Today. That we've got a 2013. It's a Kia Forte Koup that it has. He's wanting me to find a noise that it has when it's cold and it's in gear with the AC on when the engine's cold. Of course, a little history on this car. He's had it for a long time, that it's got 171,000 miles on it. I think it had around 20,000 when he bought it. So we figure he's put roughly 150,000 miles on it. And the car was wrecked. So it's been hit on the driver's side. So it's got a replacement fender on the left side. It's got a different hood. One of the biggest things I noticed when I was looking at it when he first brought it out is he was missing a rib on the serpentine belt. So I told him, well, we probably need to put a belt on it, because that can't, if the belt's coming apart, that could cause noise. Well, then he told me that belt's been like that for ever since he's owned the car. So I said, well, if it's been on there that long, that probably isn't the source. So of course, when we dropped it off, engine was warm, so he couldn't recreate the noise. So I got to looking at it, and things I found was water pump pulley in the back. It, when it's running, it wobbles. That's not a lot, but a little bit. I told him it doesn't look like the shaft is wobbling, and it's not leaking. So, I'd say, you've been driving it for how long like that? Probably not worth worrying about. But then I was looking at that rib missing on the belt. Well, I noticed on the AC compressor that across the pulley, one of the outer lip of it is bent in, has a little dish spot in it, and I bet you somebody cut that off instead of replacing the AC compressor, because that bent spot lines up with where the rib's missing. So, and then I was talking about other things I noticed. Well, since the car's been wrecked, you look at the motor mounts, they don't line up like they should, because like this one up in the fender, it's probably pushed back. Well, it's got to be 3/8 of an inch probably. And I'm wondering, it's just over time, because it's one of those where it's like sets in it's a cup, and then it's shifted backwards, and I bet you that rubber on the inside is getting broke down, and it's probably likely it's metal to metal on the inside, but not sure, because like I say, once it warms up, the noise goes away. You really don't notice it. I mean, there's a little bit there, but not much. And I told him, I don't know what we can do about getting all the motor mounts to line back up, because, it's like everything is, I don't know, shifted. I mean, it's like the motor has come this way in the back, that way in the front, so the motor acts like it's this way, but yet at the mount, it's the opposite direction. So what I asked him is, how much money do you want to spend, before we chase this problem, and start replacing parts? And so he decided that, he wanted to go ahead and get the deal with the AC compressor and the water pump pulley fixed after 150,000 miles. So he went to the salvage yard, bought a used pulley, that pick and pull. And then he didn't want to get a pick and pull air compressor because he didn't know the mileage. So he went down to another salvage yard and got me a used AC compressor that supposedly has 119,000 miles on it. And of course, the pulley spins, sounds good. It's not loose. You turn the compressor, it's smooth. So we're going to put this on, and then after 150,000 miles, he bought a new belt. So that's what we're going to do today, is put those parts on. And I'm going to play a short segment of that before I started filming this. I went ahead and recorded it, that sound when it was cold, and did it with the AC on, in gear, forward and reverse, just so you could hear what it but I hope it shows sound. You hear the sound on the video, that see what we're chasing, that I'm sure he has had this for a very long time, this noise, but of course all of a sudden now he wants to do something about it. And I don't know, he might be wanting to sell the car, because someone buys the car and they start it up cold and turn the AC on, that sound inside when you're sitting in the seats, it's obnoxious. I mean, it's one of those things you'd think that you had your hot rod with a exhaust cut off, underneath the floorboards in front of the rear axle, that it just kind of has that rumbly, rattly kind of sound on the interior. So I'll play that short video, and then we'll get back to it after I get some of this work done. Okay, well, we're inside the Kia, and right now I got the fan off, AC off, and just the car running. And like for our noise, I'll turn the air conditioner on, and of course, compressor kicks in, and we shut it off, and then turn it back on, and you can hear a little bit of sound change when the compressor kicks on, but not much. But then when as the idle drops down, and we're down, well, about 1,000 RPMs now, and it's a cold engine, I take it and put it in reverse, and I don't know if you can hear that, but we get the god-awful I don't know, rattly vibration that happens. And I put in neutral, and it kind of straightens out. Go into drive, and it returns. And now I've actually got the wheels blocked and the parking brake set, but I really don't recommend you do this. But for video purposes, I was going to take you outside and see, you can hear that noise now while we're outside. And really trying to determine where it's coming from is difficult, because of when this thing was in its wreck. That let me go get a flashlight, it might help. Alright, I'm back. Now, I don't know if you can see, if I look down here at the power steering pulley, it's got a wobble to it. And then the hard one to see is going to be the AC compressor. The pulley in it has a wobble. That we're missing actually one rib on the serpentine belt, because where the AC compressor is bent, it's right where it takes that outer rib. It can cut. I don't know if the compressor cut that rib off, but I'm guessing that somebody, when they was repairing the car, just cut that off because of the pulley being bent instead of fixing it right. And even though it's hard to see, if you look real close, the actual pulley itself wobbles a little bit on the front of the compressor. Okay, for the right front fender, we're back. The engine bracket's this way. The front one is this way. Well, the rear one is this way. And then I haven't took the air box out, but it's a little different kind of mount here under there. It's kind of, it's got like a shaft coming out, 2 bolts go down to the top of the transmission. What I can see here looks like it's pretty much where it belongs. So I'm guessing that probably the engine cradle is tweaked somehow from the wreck, because the collision occurred over here on the left hand side. So because we have a new fender here, even though at least they did go back with a factory fender, so it fits good. And then we still got our factory fender over here because I can see the sticker. But of course, you know, as the engine is warmed up a little bit, that noise you know, even sitting inside the car, you know, has gone away, because there we're in drive, neutral, reverse, and we're good. You know, but whatever this noise is, to me, is RPM related, because I can just give it just a smidge of gas, and right around that 900 to 1000 RPM range is when it's there, and it comes in and it goes away once you get up above the 1000. Okay, well, I got the belt off and a few things done. I thought I'd spin this AC pulley so you could see it before I took it off. Okay, you spin it, you can see where it's bent on the outer rim, and then has just a little bit of wobble and just a tad bit of bearing noise too, but yeah, whoop 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 whoop, off it goes. Well, we're back at the Kia that I got the power, or the water pump pulley swapped out down there. Got the other one on. I still need to tighten the bolts, but what I ended up doing was I took the motor mount loose, put a block under the oil pan, and jacked it up a little because my big hands don't fit in there. And I'd loosened the bolts while the belt was still on. So then I ended up putting the wrench down and on the bolt, and using the wrench and kind of working in a circle, and unscrewed all the bolts, and then swapped out the pulley, and then did the same thing. I stuck the bolt in the end of the wrench, got it in the hole, and then did it the other direction and got them started, because I could not get my hand down in there to even start the bolts. And then moving up, changing that compressor, I was looking for how it was going to come out of the opening, and you know, there's not really enough room between the cradle and the engine. Well, might if you took the oil filter off, but they're definitely not between the cradle and the radiator to get in there and change it. So I was looking in my fan shroud, which was already, you know, cracked and broke right here, which gave it a little bit extra flexibility. I was actually able to unclip it, because when it goes down in there and clips, you know, it just has these little tabs. You just bend them back to release it on both sides. I pulled it up, shifted it just a little bit to the driver's side, and pulled it up, and had to bring the radiator hose out of the way. That I think if the shroud there with the blower motor in it isn't broke like mine, probably ought to drain a little coolant out. And I think if you pull the upper radiator hose off and got it out of the way, I bet that thing would come up, back, and slide right out easy peasy. But yeah, but getting that out of the way, it looks like I can get down here and trying to see the back screen so I can make sure I get good pictures, but I can get access to all 4 bolts that mount it to the engine, easy access to unplug the wire, and then the 2 bolts that hold the hoses on. That you know, I recommend you know, find a local shop where, you know, like this one, it still was full of refrigerant, so I ran it up to a local shop, and I kind of got worked. I see them enough that they give me a deal on you know, pulling the Freon out and recovering it, recycling it, so that I'm not just blowing it out into the atmosphere. But you know, this thing only I looked it up, and I couldn't find an exact, because you know, when this got wrecked, they didn't replace any of the stickers on the hood. But I found in online that this holds anywhere from 18 to 20 ounces of R134A, and it uses PAG 46 oil, and if the system was empty, it holds 4 ounces. So I just took a paint pen, wrote that on, and then while I was checking things out, one of the idler pulleys, I rotated it, and it's kind of noisy, and I'm gonna hold it over the camera and see if you can hear this, but it just clicks. So I'm gonna run up to the parts store and get a new one of those. But yeah, I always check all those things when I pull a belt off, just to make sure, because I hate to put it back together and have a pulley fail. That the other two seem to be pretty smooth, so I'm gonna leave them alone. Alternator turns smooth. So yeah, I'm gonna get back to swapping parts, and I'll continue in a little bit. Okay, well, I got the key all back together, and of course putting the new pulley on the water pump. I mean, man, it's about as straight as you can get. I mean, there might be a tad bit of wobble, but and we got a 6 rib belt on it now, and of course the AC compressor, we don't have that wobble in its pulley nor the bent flange. And I did have to replace one idler pulley. So now I didn't take care of the complaint of that noise, but till we figure out what to do about these misaligned motor mounts, I don't think there's an answer. All right, well, the kid's gonna head back home. That we got his new AC compressor, idler pulley belt, and water pump pulley on. Didn't get his noise squared away, but he's not sure how much money he wants to invest in trying to get rid of that noise, because next step's probably it needs to go up on a lift where you can look underneath and check for things that are bent because of the motor mounts, the way they're misaligned, having them, you know, the left front's to the rear, the middle rear is to the right. I mean, yeah, it's yeah, I don't know what the answer is. That trying to do it here on jack stands or on the ground, it's hard to see and really get a good view of it. So, but I appreciate you watching the video. If you liked it, give me the thumbs up for the like, and please share, and nothing else, subscribe and come back and see what we're gonna have next on What's Broke Today. Thank you.